Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Wednesday night. The Fundamentals to Gain Inner Peace with your host, Coach Menachem. The stories we live in and how to step out of them. We'll see if we get to the second part today, but I think the awareness of seeing those stories, the stories we tell ourselves, the thoughts, the stuff that's going on. Many times we don't even realize it's a story. We think, this is me. This is who I am. That's what happens after so many years. We don't see different. This is all I see, and we don't believe anything else. And the question is, why would you want to step out of those stories? Something to think about. Who would you be without your story? Many times our story limits us to, those walls that we put around ourselves. We don't believe we can go out. We don't believe we can do something different. It's all that story that we're telling ourselves about ourselves. So becoming aware of that story can help us grow, and a lot of healing, stepping out of our comfort zone once we realize that it's a story. Once we realize we could move it, we could look at it, and then slowly detach, like we discussed many times, to see it's an old story. Some people might tell themselves, I always mess things up. And they walk around with that. Or people never listen to me. Nothing ever works out. Those things that we say, many times you can listen to the words that come out of your mouth to become aware of the story. And then we question them. Is it reality, or it's the way we look at it? We're looking at it through our lens, through our stories, our experiences, and we believe it's true. And if I ask you, is it really true? You'll say yes. But then you have to stop up for a moment and then ask again. Is it reality, or it's just based on how you see it? So that's to understand the stories and not to judge them. Those stories that we came up with, many times we needed them to protect us, to make things a little bit easier. So to tell us this is what it is and this is who I am. Maybe you needed it then, but now it's possible it's keeping us small, limiting us, and that's why many times we can feel reactive and disconnected from the present moment because of our story. So let's start, and let's get grounded. Come into the room. Let's try to slow down a little bit so we can notice. Both feet on the floor. Take a deep breath in and out. And just see where you are physically, what your day looked like, the ups and the downs, things that worked out or didn't. And see how you feel. And then you can turn inwards to see what's going on inside of you. What am I feeling now? What's my body feeling? Deep breath in and out. You can do a quick body scan. Just notice any tension, physical feelings. There's no right or wrong. Whatever you feel, just notice. Keep on breathing, and let's stay here for a minute or two, or maybe just 1 minute for 60 seconds. Let's see what happens. Your thoughts, your feelings. Just be there and notice. Focusing breath. Beautiful. Okay. Deep breath in and let it all out. Beautiful. Okay, so here we are. After noticing, allowing ourselves to just be. So the past 2 weeks, we've been discussing the shift, how to shift our state, right? So we discussed the SHIFT of shift, to see it, be aware, honor it with self-compassion, don't judge. The I is to imagine the new state. F is form it in your body, feel that way, feel the new state, and then T, take action based on the new state. So that's the shift. And last week we discussed to practice seeing what comes up, the reaction that comes up right away, which many times it's just something we don't choose, it just happens. We get triggered and we feel a certain way, and that's okay. So what you become aware of that trigger, you become aware of what it makes you feel, and then we can decide, let me feel a little bit different. Maybe I can feel calm even though I feel nervous. Let me choose calm. And the more we practice, the faster you can do it. So again, for beginners, you don't have to go so fast. The awareness, to feel the trigger, feel what comes up, and that's okay. And then decide, what would I want to feel? Become aware of that feeling that you want. But eventually, by doing it again and again and again, it becomes easier and faster. The way we think, new pathways in our brain. And yeah, can you imagine we can actually create new pathways just by noticing and deciding, noticing, take a deep breath and decide what you want to feel. And this week we're going to stop for a moment and see what's going on in our mind, those thoughts, the story we tell ourselves about what's going on, and based on that, we feel, makes us feel. So let's do this together. We're going to come up with one thing that triggers us, and we're going to see what's coming up, what's going on. So let's take a moment, and if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes. Just be here and think of one situation, maybe in the past week, or something that comes up in your life. Think of a story or something that's not going your way, not going the way you want it to be. You would love to change it. If you had a button, what's that one thing that you would want to switch? It could be something small, maybe a conversation you had, maybe a goal, a relationship you have with someone that's sticky. Just become aware of one thing and just notice. Notice what comes up. Notice what your mind says about the situation. What's the story that immediately shows up? Maybe it's I can't win, they don't care, it's never going to work, nothing ever changes. Let's allow the story to come up. Let's allow the thought. And don't judge the thought, allow it. There's no right or wrong. Just notice. Sometimes it can be very quiet. You have to be really still and allow yourself to hear what it's saying. So again, find that situation that you would love to change, something that's not working out, and look at it and see what's going on when you think about it. What's going on in your mind? What do you tell yourself? Okay. So you can write it down. Whatever came up, just so that you know that you can see it, look at it, and ask yourself, what's the story I'm telling myself? What's the story? What am I telling myself about it? About what's going on? How does the story make me feel in my body when I think of that? Be aware of what it makes you feel. Then you can ask yourself, is it absolutely true? After you notice the story, let's say you say, I can't win. They don't care. Never changes. So first notice what comes up, what it makes you feel. Then you can ask, is that absolutely true? And you might answer yes. Okay, just notice. But many times if you say, is it 100% true? So then you might say, based on my story, based on the way I see it. Okay, beautiful. We're getting somewhere. So then it's might not be 100% true, but based on my experience, the way I feel, okay. So now we can see that it's from a story, it's coming from somewhere. And it doesn't have to be 100% true. So we can look at it, move it around, ask ourselves what's a different story, or maybe we can let it go. But for now, just to ask ourselves, is it absolutely true? Okay, we'll pause for a moment and you can share in the chat if anything came up. Okay. If we check the facts, we can see it's often distorted. Very good. That's what we're discussing to see the story that we came up with. Probably while it was happening, that's what we had to tell ourselves. But 10 years later, or how many years later, we can stop, look back, and see, wait a second. I don't have to, it doesn't have to be that way. Maybe I can make it work. In my mind, it's always saying it's never going to work. I always mess up. Do you always mess up? Most of the time. Most of the time? Uh, Maybe half. Okay, we're getting somewhere. So you can start seeing that if you're walking around constantly saying, I always mess up, it's based on your story, based on your story. Okay, beautiful. I'm on 90% true, so that's good. That means it's not 100%, so we can start looking at our story, the way we believe it, and see why it's not 100% true. So we can go back to see it's just something that we tell ourselves. Then we can ask ourselves, maybe there's a better story. You say many times I manage, many times it works out. Not always, but sometimes it works out. You see how that changes the feeling of I always mess up. Then you're probably not going to try anything new, stay where you are, and there's no one to talk to. Why would you want to mess up again? At work, I'm always behind, no matter how much I do. That's a story. Beautiful. So you might tell me what's a fact. Well, we can talk about it, but first let's notice the story. I'm always behind, no matter how much I do. I just can't seem to catch up. Just see how that feels when you tell yourself that. Probably in the morning you feel the heavy, just walking into work with that story, that could be heavy. Okay, here's another one. They don't appreciate me. Relationships. People always take advantage of me. Wow. Just see how that feels when you say that. Imagine walking around thinking people always take advantage of me. Anytime you go out, when you're around people having conversations, interactions, you can imagine what that feeling is. Like thinking people always take advantage of me. That could be the answer why many people are always defensive and pushing back because they're in their mind, they're ready. Like, I'm not gonna allow anybody to take advantage of me. I'm not gonna let whoa, 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 what's going on? It could be it happened in the past and you had to tell yourself, you have to be tough, but now no one needs to take advantage of you. Maybe you're in a better place. People keep ignoring my messages repeatedly. Just look at that story. Look at that story. So you might say it's a fact. Is it 100% true? Or sometimes people answer my messages. Something to think about. I feel that this negative spiral is draining a chunk of positive, productive energy. Yes. So these are the negative stories, the stories that we tell ourselves, the stories that we're walking around with, and then we wonder why our day looks, why does it look the way it does? Well, it could be walking around the story the second you wake up, with the story. And we've discussed many times, it's time to set your day and your intention in the morning. What do I want my day to look like? Because if you don't set your intention, it's probably going to be the same as yesterday, same way of thinking. If we're not aware, we're not conscious. So it's good you're here. We can make choices. Here's another one. I always feel not good enough. I'm just not good enough. Wow. And when that's the story, everything that doesn't go perfectly becomes proof. Yeah, exactly. You're walking around seeing that it's true. My story is I'm not good enough. And walking around all day saying, you see, this didn't work and that didn't work and I couldn't do that and I couldn't do that. You think it's because you're not good enough, but I'll tell you it's because that story that you're telling yourself. Okay. My students don't listen to me. That's a hard one. If you're a teacher, that's a hard one. Imagine walking into a class thinking they just don't listen. Wow. That could be hard. And then when you go into class and you actually see two kids talking to each other, you're like, you see, I'm going to tell you now to change the story, but you're going to tell me, no, 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 it's not my story. It's a fact. So before we change it, just become aware of that thought, become aware of what it makes you feel. Beautiful. I'm realizing, although it happens sometimes, it's not usually the case. And most of the students are listening. However, this triggers me because it's an old feeling from childhood. Thank you. Thank you. Here you go. So just becoming aware of it, right? You might come before you go into class, you might feel it in your body saying, they're probably not going to listen to me today. You're like, oh, there it is again, the old story. Just notice it, smile, say, wow, do I want to walk into class with that story? Or maybe I can walk into class thinking they love what I teach. I'm doing a great job. I've been doing this for years. I'm doing good. Keep it up. You'll see your energy changes and you'll be surprised. You might see some change in the classroom. Move to a new city. Don't feel like I fit in here. Wow, that's also a hard one. I would ask you to stop for a moment and think why, what's the story? What are you telling yourself? Why don't you fit here? Just let's, just become aware of that. Wow. So that's thank you, whoever shared. That's amazing. That's beautiful. Yeah, I miss my old town. Beautiful. Yeah. So it could be, just a feeling. You feel a little bit lonely. You're starting off new, and it's not easy. So your mind is saying, "I don't belong here." If you tell yourself, "I don't belong here," you're probably not going to go out. You're not going to try to, find some new relationships, new friends, new concepts, ideas in that place where you are. But maybe you're not ready, but hopefully you can change that and say, I will make it work. Find something small, something positive. You go out for coffee, you're like, wow, I didn't imagine I can do this here. Slowly. Beautiful. So thank you for sharing. And these are the stories. So whenever you catch yourself overthinking, judging, or feeling heavy, sometimes you can start from the feeling. If you feel like heavy, you're not sure why. Like before you walk into your classroom, for some reason you feel like you have to pull yourself. You stop for a moment saying, what's on my mind? And then you might see what's going on to make it so heavy. Pause, just pause, take a deep breath. And when you become aware of that story, you can say, this is a story my mind is telling. Listen to it, see it. That's amazing. You don't have to change it. First, notice. And eventually you can tell yourself, I don't have to believe every story, or you can think it. And just being aware of it, your awareness, just being able to look at the story, listen to that story, that itself helps you zoom out. And then you can notice, wait a second, it's just a story. Okay, so how to get out? Hopefully we'll continue next week, but for now, just to, first of all, to be aware, listen to those stories. You can write them down. You can say, this is my story. It's a story I'm telling myself. And many times, we don't know who we are without our story. And if we challenge the story, sometimes we start feeling like, who am I? What? Without that story. So we start feeling a little bit uncomfortable. So if you feel whatever feeling comes up, just, relax, take it easy, and it's okay. It means something is happening. You're awakening. You're realizing. No rush to fix anything. Just give yourself a hug and say, wow, we're noticing something here. You don't have to let go right away. You don't have to change it right away. Just notice. Just notice. And that's the beginning. And hopefully next week we'll come up with some good techniques how we can actually start thinking good stories about ourselves, believing in ourselves. I am enough. Things work out. And see how things change. We feel lighter. That's amazing. Okay, beautiful. So if you have any questions, you can raise your hand, put it in the chat. Let me know if anything came up. You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see what else. I don't know if it's working. Okay. Yes, I see it. You can write your question in there. I found that someone I've wanted love from a long time might feel less than when I succeed. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. When you succeed, they feel less. So you have a fear of succeeding. You don't want to make them feel less. That's a heavy one. Just noticing that. We can always ask ourselves, is it 100% true? Or it's a feeling that you have and maybe picked up. Maybe something that you picked up when you were younger. They might love seeing you succeed. We don't know. But you have a story. So good. For now, the story is enough. Just notice the story. Notice how it holds you back. It's something that you want to do, but you can't do it because you don't want that person. Yeah, you don't want them to feel less than. Notice, just notice, write it down, talk to it. It's beautiful. Okay, so that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining. Thank yourself for taking some time off for yourself, time that you deserve. And spend some time with yourself. Don't wait for next week, Wednesday. A few minutes, close your phone, sit down, take a deep breath, and just notice. Just notice. And you can notice if you've been with us for a while, just notice the change of maybe a year ago of when you tried sitting by yourself and now. And thank you all for those who send me feedback, coachmenachem@gmail.com. Always good to see there's change. Many people say they're doing their work so many years, they don't really see change, but we change that. That's a story. That's a story. And I know many people, they can be in therapy for years and they're still walking around with the same story that it's not really working. So just notice, all you have to say is, it's not 100%, but I can still feel the sun shining. There's some positivity. And slowly you see some positive things in your life. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Take care of yourself.